Well, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. This week's Torah portion is Parashat Ki Tisa, which is a very important Torah portion because it contains so many important parts of our story. It contains the story of Moses going up Mount Sinai and receiving the Ten Commandments, coming down and seeing that the Israelites had made a golden calf. Tomorrow morning at Torah study, we'll be unpacking some of the meanings of the golden calf, and yes, that wasn't that. So, see. But one of the things that happens tonight in our Torah portion is that we see a powerful paradigm split screen of action taking place. On the one hand, Moses and God are engaged in an intense dialogue on the top of Mount Sinai. Moses begs to see God's face, to understand and commune with the divine on an intensely personal level. Down below, Moses is up there. Down below, the people are rejecting everything he is about to bring to them and building a golden calf, violating the very intimacy and connectivity that Moses so desperately seeks. And in our text, Joshua is sort of waiting halfway up the mountain. He can't come all the way up, but Moses is up there, and Moses emerges from the clouds. We all see the picture with two big tablets coming down. And as they're coming down the mountain, they hear the people reveling. Whenever I use that word, I think of Cecil B. DeMille's Ten Commandments, reveling. And we read the following in the Hebrew, Vayishma Yehoshua et kol ha'am bero'ah, Vayomer el Moshe kol milchama b'machaneh. When Joshua heard the sound of the people in their celebrations, he said to Moses, there's the sound of war in the camp. Vayomer, Moses said, Ein kol anot gvura, ve'ein kol anot chalusha, kol anot shomea. Moses says, this is not the sound of songs of bravery. This is not the sound of songs of weakness. This is the sound of sounds that I hear. It's a strange sentence. It seems like there's something missing from the paragraph. It's not a complete sentence. Joshua hears the sound of revelers celebrating the golden calf. He hears the intensity of their voices. Yet he can't pinpoint exactly what it is that they are singing about. And Moses, in his sort of incomplete response to Joshua, is teaching him that it is not the message of the song that they are hearing that is so disturbing. Rather, it is the sound of singers that is chilling to his ear. Because instead of glorifying God, this song's purpose is to amplify the sin that was being committed. It was not a song of bravery or a song of weakness. It was merely the people reveling in the sounds of their own voices. Moses has just returned from this intense communion with God. Just moments before he and Joshua hear the commotion in the camp below. He's still glowing from that experience of communing with God, receiving Torah, the blueprints for life, meaning and purpose, and to be transported from this level of transcendence, of intensity, of spiritual depth and communion with all that is holy, become face to face with that which is most base, profane, and idolatrous, the sound of nothingness of the Israelites. I can imagine what Moses was feeling. And yet, he not only immediately comprehends what's going on, he also had the presence of mind to argue with God, who wanted to destroy the people. God says, I'm going to kill them all and start again with you. And Moses says to God, and I paraphrase, "Why, God, should your anger flare up against your people whom you have taken out of the land of Egypt with great power and a strong hand? Why should the Egyptians say that you removed them from bondage so that you could destroy them in the wilderness?" And then Moses, with incredible chutzpah, tells God, "Step back from your wrath and reconsider your anger against your people." God says those words that we hear on Yom Kippur after Kol Nidre, "Salachti kidvarecha." I have forgiven because of what you told me, Moses. So God relents, and Moses' logic prevails, but the contrast between the revelatory experience of Moses and the baseness and meaningless display of id in which the Israelites are engaged is both profound, telling. Today, all too often, we find ourselves caught up in this gap between the holy and the empty, the sacred and the profane. How often do we, as individuals and as a nation, engage in pointless sniping and griping? So many delight in the sound of their own voices, in empty news that is tailored to our own predilections. In a world of instant messaging, in the world of tailored communication, the search for gotcha moments is increasingly becoming a compulsion. And as anyone who knows me, I am as guilty as anyone. I regularly check my Twitter feed to see what new morsels of outrage with whom I am ideologically opposed have committed. The need to feed my hunger for juicy tidbits of scandal is paramount, exhausting, and all-consuming if I don't control it. Now, yes, much of this comes from a political structure that appears to thrive on chaos, name-calling, and confusion. But it's wrong to place the entire blame on our leadership. To do so is to deflect us from the real problems at hand. Our elected officials represents our values as individuals and as a nation. We voted them in. Remember, Aaron built the golden calf in response to the people's call, not out of any desire to rule himself. The anger and the emptiness of mindless sniping inspires can also be tragic and deadly. I'm convinced that one of the many reasons we are seeing so many acts of violence occurring in our nation is because we have allowed ourselves to be seduced by the soul-draining emptiness of our national discourse. And so if you, like me, are tired of the sound of empty singing, maybe what Paul Simon said when he wrote The Sound of Silence was quite predilectish. Is that a word? No. In the 1960s. Of mindless criticism and sniping. And we all must not allow ourselves to be drawn into the trap of appeasing our basest self. One of the most important antidotes to emptiness is in the communal search for holiness that we as a Kehillah Kedosha, as a sacred community, those who are with us tonight, those who are with us online, and those who aren't here. That's what we're trying to do. Put meaning and purpose into some of the emptiness, the sound of emptiness, the sound of our own voices. And the more that we shun the temptation to give in to our own weakness and move toward creating and celebrating the holy and the good in our lives, the better we will be. And this is not an easy task, especially these past 2 years as we have been so isolated and all we can hear is the sound of our own voices. And I don't have an answer. I really don't, to the multiplicity of problems that we face. Other than to say that if we come together as a sacred community, whether we are in person or online, we have a better chance of drowning out the noise of mindlessness and finding meaning and purpose in our traditions. So let us singing bring us closer. Let our prayers make us stronger. Let our values shine a light on the path which we need to walk. Ken Yiratzon. Shabbat Shalom.